Hello, Shadarek here. Today I have a commentary going over a 19 Cinderbrew Meadery that I did. This is not with my usual team comp. This was with Protection Warrior, Retribution Paladin, Rester Shaman, and Unholy Death Knight. And I just wanted to do this as going through, giving what I look for and what I'm doing in each pull that I'm approaching in the dungeon, and how I maintain such high soul generation, which results in me topping overall damage in this key. So let's get into it.
Okay, I'm inserting my key. 3, 2, 1.
So even at the start of this key, the first thing I want to point out here is if you look at my Cycle of Hatred stacks up here, I have 2 stacks. My high beam's on cooldown. When I enter into a dungeon, I generate Fury and I press an eye beam instantly, just getting it on cooldown, so that whenever we have a go timer, I'll be able to do eye beam, meta, eye beam. Ideally, this will be 3 stacks. It saves you 5 seconds on the cooldown of eye beam, but in almost every case, it doesn't really matter because when you end up pressing eye beam, but I just did want to point that out because I have people ask about it, and your Cycle of Hatred stacks do persist into the key. They do not get reset. This is the same with boss combat and raids, so you can be pre-eye beaming in raids to maintain that. It does reset when you enter a key, however. So if you stack it to 4, walk in the dungeon, it'll go back to 1. It has to be after you walked into the dungeon that you actually do that.
Inserting my key. 3, 2, 1.
So you can see I did my eye beam, meta eye beam, and I'm down to only 20 seconds left now. I have 4 cycle stacks.
So I guess we do. The answer is just we have to wait for that path then.
Yeah. So in this first pull here, we're focusing down one of the hired muscles. I'm waiting for threat on this pack to be established and everything to be pulled before I actually start going. If I hit anything now, I'm gonna have like a small amount of healing, give me healer aggro on a bunch of the mobs that are not currently tagged. Once they get in and they get AoE taunted by the Prot Warrior, then I'm gonna pop off with my damage. Starting with Sigil of Flame from range, just as generating the soul while not being in on the mobs, and then hunting to get my Reaver's Glaive. After using my Reaver's Glaive, I spend all my Immolation Auras. I drop a Darkness, partially because I don't want any worry of my tank dying. And right here, I Chaos Nova for souls. So I Chaos Nova with my meta. Stunning. And I call that I'm stunning. Doing that, you can see my soul count jumps from 2 to 5 right away, and there's more on the ground than that. Ripped muscle, melted. And then I'm doing enough damage to this hard muscle that right here, using another Reaver's Glaive, I actually rip it. I get threat, and I just have to melt. Just going to the first pull to look at the damage of that, as it is pretty extreme. Let's go look at the hard muscles. And we want to look at the one that's taking the most damage at the start of the key, which is hard muscle 3. And this is what the damage to that hard muscle looks like. This is why there's such a high chance of Havoc ripping threat even really late into a pull, because everything is getting spread damage so much, and we're just doing an incredible amount. 40% of my damage is wounded quarry damage, which is somewhere in the range of like 2.5 mil. That is a lot of DPS being done through pure funnel that does generate threat. So that's why ripping that happens, and that's why having the correct target priority on Havoc is so fucking important. But we have melds, kill the muscle, and then once this is closer to dead, I didn't actually do it here. I should have swapped on that last Reaver's Glaive, just so I had a mark out. But you can see I'm using Sigil of Flame on cooldown. I use Sigil of Misery there to generate just another soul, as you just really want to keep your soul generation going. That's what causes you to do massive amounts of damage and really be able to do that insane amount of funnel
The
damage.
Prio's definitely there with this comp. I definitely feel it.
It's so much faster as this comp.
The Prio is
I think the
definitely
mother
good.
load spoke for itself, dude. That fucking extractor bullshit.
Yeah.
It's so much faster.
We definitely do spend like a lot of time on those extractors. Wait, this is done.
Next, we're going into Chef Chewy. In a 19, I don't need to worry about
Fast.
Tenderize killing me, but if I have another mechanic on me, that would be where I have risk of that. Since there's no hard muscle, I'm not going to be taking the AoE damage, so all that it really could be is having the Pyromancer or Pyromaniac set as my focus so I can interrupt that channel cast, which does take a full second to tick damage. But if I do get the Dispel, then just for safety, I'll probably press Blur, just in case your healer doesn't get the spell on you instantly. And the whole time you're watching for those circles that are going on the floor from the attendant, those there, those do instant kill you. And we're going to continuously be chaining mobs into Chewy the whole time. This gives an incredible amount of funnel to me, and it's just effective cleave because it takes so long to kill this mob, and you don't want a ton of mobs beating on your tank.
Yeah, we were terrified of that little yellow mob. Fucking jumped on your horse and bounced.
And that's where I should have set my new focus when we swapped Pyromaniacs, and just seems none of us were looking to get that kick, but we should have got it a lot earlier. If that had overlapped for another second and gone into the Tenderize, that probably would have killed our Ret Paladin.
Let's go. Do you need mana?
We can go without. Fuck it.
Alright, I'm willing.
I'm basically just trying to center myself and get hits on as many mobs as possible. I'm going to be using my sigils to generate here after I press meta. So I use another Reaver's Glaive as it comes up. And then I Nova for souls before all the mobs are fully dead. And I should use the Sigil of Misery pretty soon here.
Dude, Kush's log for their like MDI winning run of this, Death Coil was higher than Epidemic for him.
It comes up, so I'm just looking to press that. Just using basically everything on cooldown. And because I have AoE here, and I'm actively spending Reaver's Glaive, so I'm doing a significant amount of damage, I'm not looking to defensive on the throw Cinderbrews, and I'm saving Blur for more dangerous ones. Right here, this one was one that was going to be more dangerous for me, whereas I knew I'd be safe on the previous one. And when it comes out, with Throw Cinderbrew, there's a really important thing. This mechanic can be dodged. Being an agility class, we have a baseline of around 15% chance to dodge on Havoc, and when you press Blur, it gives you an additional 50. You go to about 65% chance. And once that is in the air and you can tell that it is going at you, you can blur it and have a 2 and 3 chance to dodge. Which I do here. I press my blur, and then I don't get the debuff. This can happen naturally with or without blur, but if you do pre-blur it, it will happen a significant amount of the time. Now, it might look like, oh, but I wasted my blur because I'm not DRing anything. And no, you're entirely immuning the mechanic, and if it doesn't get immuned, then you're DRing the mechanic when it does go onto you. So that's the only correct way to use your defensive on this fight, and as it's the only mechanic that you should really be looking out for instead of standing in puddles on the floor, it's something to definitely make sure you are doing.
You're dead as fuck. Yeah, see you tomorrow.
Boss is hittable the entire time that he's here, and you can still generate souls off him while he's immune, even though you can't grab beers right away. Plus, we're so fast, so I tend to try to throw my cooldowns into him and continue to generate a couple souls before I run my beer, as I'm not going to be the holdup doing it at that rate. And we continue to pull packs into this boss, which is just really great for me on Havoc. I get an incredible amount of funnel. I'm going to look to Chaos Nova again here when I get the chance. Very dangerous that I took a tick there, but it is fine as I have a lot of healing out of it. Would have been much better for me to time that eye beam and not take that tick of damage, especially because I got the dot at the same time. Really just putting myself at risk of dying.
This game just wants to punish me. You too, every single time, bro.
Same thing here.
Like, I'm spec'd into this fight specifically.
And as you can see on the HPS meter in the bottom right, at this time I'm still doing 550k HPS without using Darkness on this fight. Havoc's just very safe. I blurred this one, but didn't immune it. I throw my glaive before I hunt, but I want to get that used like on cooldown, and I'm just trying to pick up and generate souls because I don't want to burn my netherwalk on that one since I already had blurred it. I don't end up doing it at all in the swipe, but something worth noting, Havoc can go right over these white clouds. So right here, if I had to go to the far side, you can actually just double jump and fell rush over these, and they don't pick you up. It's really not that tight either. If you land in it, obviously you're going to go into it, but it's pretty easy to hop over them. Maybe something to try outside of a push key if you want to do it for your first time, though. Then same thing here, just bring mobs onto the boss, and I'm going to send meta.
Give me the dot real quick.
I tried a meta immune here. Turns out it wasn't going at me, though. I don't know who it was going on. But you can meta immune it.
You can meta them?
Yeah, meta was a 1 second immune.
I think it was on me though.
Yeah, I think it looked like it was going at me. I think you just dodged.
I like the flare though. We'll say it was on you.
Oh, here we go, dude.
I
Here's
appreciate
another
it.
one. Lay my hands real quick.
So you blur to have a chance at dodging.
I'm just continuously spending here
Oh my
because
God, and the dot.
burning the
Yeah,
boss
I
down.
know.
And not only that, if you're still in combat when this boss dies, the Cinderbrews that he throws out will persist while you're in combat with other mobs. So if you pull trash onto the boss and it's not dead, but the boss dies, the dots continue. Like they will still tick on you at least until they expire or until you kill all the mobs. Whereas here you'll see the Cinderbrews go out, but dodged.
Oh, here we go, bro.
My
When the boss dies, it rips off.
15
and then meta's 50, so like 65-ish.
everything about that. Holy shit.
Good bro?
No.
Whoa, what is that bee hitting me?
Stunning. So again, stunning for souls, and you can see I got an incredible amount off that stun here.
Good bro?
I have 4 souls before I
What is that
stun,
bee hitting me?
stunning, and I get a full Reaver's Glaive out of it, and I go back to 4. Reaver's Glaive also refunds a soul, so it costs you 5, because it's 6 to get 1, then it gives you 1 back every time. So using Chaos Nova for souls in cases like that is more than an entire Reaver's Glaive, and that feeds into a lot of damage. Really just spam spending on because we're on really massive pulls. Early in the pull, you want to spam spend before the like AoE shitter mobs die, and you're just funneling that damage into the correct target.
We for sure do another pull.
In these pulls, we're pretty safe as long as you stay in and keep doing damage. If you are ever getting like double shot by the bee wranglers, that's where you're going to want to throw your netherwalk because it is a pretty dangerous mechanic. But other than that, we're really safe in this pull. Even when we get like stacks of the bee bleed, we just heal too much for it to be that dangerous for us.
I'll do backup triangle.
I neo kicked that shit.
It's not trying. Was it triangle that was going off there?
Yeah, diamond.
Oh, it was diamond. I
Yeah.
didn't have it focused.
Should have seen my mouse. Quick as fuck.
You fucking quick scoping it?
I believe I saved my medic here. I've never done this route the way we were pulling this before. I'm used to killing 1 pack and going back. New to playing with players in general, just was not comfortable with the route. But I saved meta, and I don't think it was the wrong choice necessarily. It's a little bit awkward because I don't think I have my meta right when we start our last pull.
No.
But we do a long run back. I'm going to skip forward a bit. When we get up here, we're having me do a misery melt, and I have 8 seconds on my souls left, so I want to do this, just in time to get that soul, so I'm not having those expire. Then we're moving through, and I'm going to melt. And there we go. I'm going to start coming into the Hopgoblin pulls. Anytime there's a Hopgoblin, that's just your focus. You can swap off to hit Bruise if you feel it's necessary, but if you're upkeeping your damage correctly, we do an incredible amount of AoE in these pulls, and it's enough to naturally rot the mobs down. Right here, you can see I actually Blade Dance before I Chaos Strike. Not intentional. I mean to Chaos Strike the mob, and he charges out of my range at the same time, and then I was already pressing my Death Sweep before I realized that the button didn't go off.
I'm just using my flamethrower.
Rather large loss, but like it's not the end of the world, right? Definitely don't want it to happen, but things like that will just happen.
What do you mean?
It disappears. The
It's like
flamethrower.
Minute.
in this pull, just kicking free samples. Those are what are dangerous. And
Purges.
defensive-wise, you really just want to use your defensive overlapping a frontal charge into a wall. We kill before the second one goes off, but on the first one I threw Blur. While the slam itself won't kill you, if the slam happens while you have the spell mechanic on you, or if a beam starts going on you that doesn't get stopped, although you should AoE stun or something of that sort to stop those, or one of the taste tester casts go off onto you, that overlapped with a charge is what's going to kill you, so that's where I use Blur. Can be Netherwalk depending. I'm used to having to do a Netherwalk skip here and never having it for this area,
You said
which
40?
is
No love for
pretty
Pookie.
dangerous, but typically that's how I use those.
Sorry, dude, Pookie's on that
I think
shit.
we AFK, right? For a little bit?
Blank.
And
Okay.
It's a 19.
we come into what's our massive Lust pull. Lust isn't up quite yet, but I just kind of start setting up on it as getting it grouped, start spamming out all my immolation auras,
My shock
and Nova for souls, and then I'm gonna start just mass spending here. And again, I don't even have meta, but that's fine. You don't need meta to pump here.
use your stomp spooky.
There was a spell out there, so I did get a purge on it. Kicks wise, really you just want to be kicking the taste testers. And in our comp with how this is being done, the failed batches are just going to die in AoE and Bloodlust without any real issue. Cleaving into the Hopgoblin, because just want that to die. You want to do interrupts on taste testers because that's what's going to cause people to die. And these heal casts going off are just, we can dispel them, so that's what we're doing. We have somebody in this group has Arcane Torrent. There's a Blood Elf, I'm not sure who. And then,
Use your stomp spooky.
you know, like I can go for the purge on this flavor scientist and just purge that off. And we also have a Resto Shaman, so
Melee blind.
purges are just happening. You can see on the frame of the Hopgoblin that in 5 seconds we have another charge happening.
Just get kicks.
So when the charge starts happening here, this is when I should throw Blur.
Slam's going off here.
And Hopgoblin's dead already.
Move on.
Not actually sure what Pookie died to here. Let me rewatch that.
Slam's going off here.
I think we just had a cast go off from a taste tester into him. Unfortunate. You can see one dispel out here. My dispel's on cooldown for 2 seconds, but I'll get it after that.
Purge if you can.
Ooh, care, boss.
Yeah.
Okay, I just
My
didn't instead.
consecration. My consecration.
Can you drop
We accidentally pull the boss here because consecration, so we just run it out to reset it.
Reset.
Bring it up. Whatever, we lose like 10 seconds from that.
Resetting
Yeah,
Lust.
we're good.
Imagine.
Star.
Sick.
Got diamond.
Love that meta.
We played this pull here very safe. Really just chaining from one caster pack to the next with the Hopgoblin. I think they're used to it taking 2 packs to kill this Hopgoblin, but because of Havoc Prio, that's not really the case. Nothing going on here. I'm just kicking Taste Tester. We have kicks for the Pyros, and we're just kind of beating this mob. Nothing going on. When we want to switch packs, we charge it over to the other one. Doesn't matter that we don't kill it, because
more funnel for me.
it just doesn't really affect anything.
Got
Same thing here. We have 4 kicks, 2 on the Taste Testers, 2 on the Pyros, and the Pyros don't even need to be kicked because it's a channel. They can just be stunned or stopped in any way. So it's really just the kicks on the Taste Tester, and those can be soloed by a melee. So not a big deal. That just gives funnel onto this boss for me, and as well as that, this boss spawns a lot of funnel, which we play around very well because we have a triple melee comp.
Hey, I've done this before in a 19. I know how to heal it.
That's good. Same.
Wait, do you need this for score?
Sample? Holy.
I got a bubble.
I'm just picking up my souls here because I'm
The only
a bit afraid. I didn't plan on blurring this one, but then I got the dispel and had to sit it.
I got a bubble.
So I blur a little bit late here because it starts to get sketchy.
That was the only one that was gonna let me
I
die.
wasn't planning on using anything because we had AoE for me to cleave off of, and that's just a lot of self-healing to deal with that mechanic, and that mechanic hurts a lot, so I do want to have blur on a future one. Fortunately, Havoc's pretty well equipped to deal with it because Blade Dance, Deflecting Dance does work against it. And if you do a Blade Dance at the start and end of the mechanic, you can actually get 2 different shields off on it, which is 30% of your health bar. That between souls we generate and other things like throwing a sigil on it for the 8% DR from Demon Muzzle, you're actually pretty fucking healthy, all things considered. Now, every time there's ads out on this boss, I'm going to be spam spending my Reaver's Glaives. Specifically, I want to throw my Reaver's Glaives before my Thrill of the Fight falls off. And the reason for that is the Thrill of the Fight buff, the one that I have here, the 15% damage buff, that actually doubles dips on Reaver's Glaive. For some reason, it applies twice, and Reaver's Glaive gets a 30% bonus instead of 15. So throwing it out while you have the buff is very good. But it's in situations where you have enough souls to do so. So overlapping those back to back can be incredibly high damage value. However, again, if it's overspending and then you're going to make yourself not have a Reaver's Mark out later, it's not going to be beneficial. But it's something that I can do really consistently on this fight as we're killing so many mobs.
Those things not recast, the samples?
So I put my Reaver's Mark back out here. Mostly because, I have a hunt coming up. Can't really use it until that phase ends, but hunt and then ads are out, so I'm just going to be spending continuously. Until these ads get a bit more stacked, I'm not going to be wanting to hit much, and I'm wanting to cleave off of the boss specifically, so I do move to them and press Nova there. The Nova is, again, for soul generation, and I'm just trying to position myself in a way that I'm getting to effectively cleave everything, and my glaives are bouncing and keeping everything slowed here.
Shit under it. I'm gonna drop it like nice. I'm gonna drop it out in front of the boss a bit. I'll do directly under, actually, directly under.
So I'm doing darkness on this as they called for it. Darkness is very dangerous on this mechanic. It's incredibly powerful though, because you do take a lot of ticks pretty fast, and it really does hurt. But you can't see the swirlies well out of the darkness. As you can see here, they get very hard to see, and you have to be really careful. It just makes everything a lot more cluttered, but it does make that mechanic a lot more safe. And it'll pop up like 21 million. Pretty good value.
Incredibly good cooldown.
Stack everything on me.
Same thing, just getting cleave. And you can see the amount of funnel that I'm getting out of this is insane. With them so perfectly stacked, it is a crazy amount. But they do need to die before they hit max energy, so we're not trying to keep them alive forever or anything, but every time I get one of these empowered death sweeps, you can just see 6.1 million wounded quarry tick right there. The damage that you get out of it is crazy, and you can see I'm doing 5.5 million DPS right now. So on this Burning Fermentation mechanic, this is the healer mechanic. 2 of them go out, and obviously healer can only dispel 1 right away, and 9 seconds later on their dispel. This mechanic hurts a lot. You can see my health bar took a nice hit. It does a lot of damage, but you can shadow meld it off. So right here, you can hear that I call that I'm going to shadow meld. And as soon as I hit shadow meld, the debuff is removed from me. I should have communicated it a second or two earlier, because if the healer throws a dispel on me insta, and I press meld while the dispel is thrown on me, it's going to take up their dispel, and I'm going to end up melding nothing. And that is definitely not ideal. But if you call it out in advance and you have people in your group rotating shadow melts, it makes this mechanic trivial, because he can just instantly dispel himself, and the whole thing's dealt with. Same thing, ads will just be getting cleaved down, stacking up for Spouting Stout. We're always just stacking on the tank and then going clockwise. And it's a hectic mechanic, so you do what you can from there.
Like that?
Yeah, perfect.
These ads are good. Don't worry.
Again, just effective cleave all turning into good funnel. I kind of overspent there, but I get enough souls back in the end, and I do go to pick up all my souls, so it's fine. We're gonna be running pretty far, so skip ahead while we do so.
The class tree is a fucking piano.
And to be honest, I'm used to having some kind of druid in my group, so oops.
No, it's not just you. It's like every shaman doesn't play Windrush here.
I'm gonna kick.
You lose a lot of defensive
Diamond?
value.
I'm star.
Oh, careful, Chad.
There's a star.
Kick.
Yeah, the Wrangler star.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Now I'm gonna stun here.
Really
This
hard.
was actually a late Nova. I did want to use this a lot earlier. We were just talking about something to do with interrupts,
Doesn't play Windrush
and
here.
again, these are pulls that I'm just not used to doing.
I'm
But
star.
as soon as these beelets came in, this is what I should have stunned. There should be, I think, about 10 beelets there. So on average, that's going to work out to an extra 3 souls. And yeah, it would be ideal for me to Nova here, but instead,
The Wrangler star.
I just hold it,
Oh, got it. Okay.
and then once I gotta figure out what we're doing,
Really
Nova
hard.
here.
There you go.
I just got double bazookaed.
Gonna throw my Reaver's Glaive, and not. As you can see here, this is something that I do often, and I mention it all the time, but it's really important.
I just got
If Hunt
double
comes up
bazookaed.
and you have a Reaver's Glaive, what you do is you stop moving, so you don't have any souls being picked up to you. You throw the Reaver's Glaive, and you press the Hunt again without moving or wiggling. Now the reason for that is, say I use my Reaver's Glaive, but I'm sitting on 6 souls. If I wiggle at all and pick up another soul, it will spend my 6 souls and give me a Reaver's Glaive before the Hunt goes off, and then when the Hunt goes off, I'll get nothing instead of getting a full Reaver's Glaive. So that is very punishing. That's something you absolutely want to avoid happening. So I always try to make the habit of standing still, throwing the Reaver's Glaive, and then hunting. Then you can spend the Reaver Glaive buffs after. You don't need to spend them first. The only time that won't work out is if you say try to do like Chaos Nova, then throw Reaver's Glaive, then hunt. There's a maximum of 5 souls that you can have down at once. If you have more than 5 souls, they will automatically pick up into you. That's something to keep in
I'm
mind.
gonna get too lost.
Should we reset?
I think so.
Okay.
Now I'm watching my soul counter here. You know, I have 5 seconds, so I'm going to hit a sigil, and I'm going to throw my Reaver's Glaive and pick up, so that I don't have all those souls expire.
That was my spell, by the way.
Spelling now.
I'm going to Nova, just for souls,
We have to get the other one up top, right?
Kick.
I'll just play with boss, I think.
Okay.
and before those beelets die, I'm trying to get all my Reaver Glaives out that I
Remember the
can.
harvester?
It's just
Is it pad or
basically fighting the pad that's going to happen on the
Speaking of
beelets,
padding?
and getting all the funnel that I can out of it. Then I can spend my Immolation Auras after, which will be hitting the more relevant mobs anyway. It's just kind of like a more efficient way to do damage. Both I'm doing more AoE, obviously, because I'm sending out more of my AoE while the beelets are alive, but it's also just providing me with that funnel.
I'm pulling.
Now, something goes wrong here, and we do wipe. Also, I make a big mistake here.
Kill the Wrangler. I'll pull.
For Reaver's Glaive,
I'm pulling.
and I was not watching, but I was slightly moving when I threw it. So you can see there's a soul beside me that I will
Kill the
pick up.
Wrangler, I'll pull.
So I'm going to throw,
I'm pulling.
and just as I was talking about before, I wiggle a step. And that picks up a soul into me and gives me a Reaver's Glaive as I hunt. Unfortunate,
I think this-
not the end of the
this
world,
boss or
but
last boss harder? I think
I lose a full Reaver's
This
Glaive,
boss-
which is not
There's
ideal.
more value on
We're
this
not
boss.
gonna get it, right?
Oh yeah. Okay. Last boss.
Kick.
Now this is where the tank's going to go down.
No way. Oh my god.
Oh,
Blind.
And unfortunately, we sent a res 2, and then we decide to wipe.
No.
What I should have done was just ran away and prepared to Shadow Meld so we could save at least one of our deaths.
Fine.
Okay.
But we just decide we're gonna wipe,
My
run
2
back,
tests IO.
and you can see like at the time that we pull this boss, we're at 18 minutes. By the time we get back to it, we're now at 21. So we just lost 3 minutes off that. I lost all my souls, puts me in a horrible spot for damage, but that's fine. This key would have been like 5.5 minutes under, if not even a little bit more, had that not occurred. but it's okay. We deal with it. Having a Purveyor on this boss really dangerous in general, and just not something I'm used to. I press the I-beam right as this mechanic is coming out, and then I just want to move out and make sure I don't die. I am getting railed by the bleed that's on me, but that's okay. On this boss, the main things to think about are, now this depends if you're pugging or in a team.
The bug's happening where I'm stuck on the bee.
Now, in the team I'm playing with, and what I'm used to is, typically the healer will do most of the bees. However, there will be times when Fluttering Wing happens, and during Fluttering Wing, they really need to be healing the group, so they can't be dealing with breaking barrels during this, or directly leading up to it often. And if they ever ask for help, people need to hop on. If you see a bunch of barrels down, hop on, just shoot the bees through them. Right here, I just have a bee come in behind me that I have aggro on, and it one-shots me, because we love critical strikes.
Stop sleep.
Just a little 14 million auto. And again, that resets all my Reaver's Glaive stacks, which is just unfortunate, but what can you do?
Wait, lost.
Yeah, should I get off this bee?
How to do it now?
What I should mention for this and dying here is I didn't realize that there was more bees coming from behind me, to be honest, because we had so many out already. I should have taken a look around the room, and if I'd known there was a bee on that side of me, I would have flipped to the other side of the boss beside the tank. Like if I knew a bee was coming in here, I would want to play on this side, where it's gonna have to walk closer to the tank and get clipped so that it won't come through and auto me in the back and kill me. But this is something that will just happen on this fight because you can't stand on your tank the entire fight. He's dropping these puddles that will one-shot you. And these Ravenous Cinderbees, they do that sting, and that sting, while it's not interruptible, you can stun it. And if you stun it, it is the only mechanic that works like how it used to be, where
So sad.
stunning them
Losing
out
all my Reaver's Glaives.
does cause them to not recast. So we do try to do that the whole fight, and being on Havoc, you have a lot of tools for this. Nova works, Misery works, and looking at a single ad, you can imprison it, or you can Fell Eruption it. So definitely look to use your tools to stop these constantly. Those bleeds do a lot of damage, and every single one of them that you stop will be worthwhile to your key.
Can I get a
See, I Nova this set here, kill these ones before they go off, and really just on this boss, I try to only throw Reaver's Glaives when there's ads out, because then the Reaver's Glaive itself is going to bounce to 4 targets, and that's going to funnel into your Reaver's Mark. You're going to get Fury of Aldrachi on the bees, and because the bees are dying faster, it's also more safe. So you can see here, I throw, I hunt, and then I'm going to throw another. I might not throw another, actually, because he mentioned he was going to pull the beelets soon. I do throw one more here.
Do those
And
beelets ever get pulled in or not?
as you can see, I'm just going to be continuing to generate on cooldown. Sigil of Flame, Sigil of Spike coming up. I can't stress enough how important it is to be pressing these on
Those beelets ever
cooldown.
get pulled in or not?
So I press Sigil of Spike. I'm going to use Sigil of Flame.
10 seconds.
I have 1,000,000 souls, and I'm overcapping Fury, and it just simply doesn't matter. You overcap Fury all the time. That's not the resource that you're thinking about in Keys as a Havoc, especially in Cinderbrew, because there's so many souls. But you play around souls as a resource. Now I'm going into meta here, so add funnels coming in. After using one more Death Sweep, I start spending, but I only get one Reaver's Glaive into these. Ideally, I'd have 2 Reaver Glaives banked that I could use on the beelets just for the funnel, but again, shit happens. This boss was really scuffed for me with the reset and then getting autoed once and dying. As soon as this boss dies, we're going up to the last area. Again, we were doing an incredible pace, so it sucked having that 3-minute loss, and then my death was another 15 seconds. Instead of taking a bee up to the last room here, you can actually hop up on that barrel And the reason that I do this is
No.
it takes about 20 seconds for that bee to fly up, and it is incredibly hard, if not impossible, to keep your Reaver's Mark stacks. But I'll hop up and then wait for the tank to be closer up. And if you don't want to fuck this up, what you can do is imprison either left or right one, and then Sigil of Misery between the three. I drop my Sigil like right between all four, and that's just to pick up that soul, and then I throw my hunt.
Even cleave.
Now, normally all I would do on these is Reaver's Mark and continuously apply to what our main target is, and anytime that the next ad's gonna die, say that Baron's at about 20%, I'll swap my Reaver's Mark to the next ad at that time if I don't have another Reaver's Glaive stacked up, just to have it on the target that's gonna live longer. But here, we're trying to execute all of them at once.
Slowing.
Slow.
Get them all to 5.
Okay, shockwaving.
I think you gotta go.
Oh,
Yes.
And he only gets 2 of the 4.
You just
But-
don't get that out of other warrior tanks.
I think at that point it probably wasn't even necessarily worth the time, but it looked cool.
When are we snapping?
And we're just killing these before we snap on a boss. Because this is really just single target mob after single target mob, I'm saving my meta here for when we have funnel onto the boss because we're snapping a pack up.
Can you in theory kill all 4?
Yeah.
I think so.
Really?
Nothing important on these mobs, just kind of maintaining Reaver's Mark uptime, and then
How hard
I
is the
don't
mob
want to
shield?
be dry on Reaver's Glaives going into the boss. The mob's low enough. Just going to use and generate sigils as I can,
Boss doesn't automatically pull, right?
and making sure I'm chaos striking and using Sigil of Flame basically while I'm just building. Walking far away from the mobs while a tank snaps, because I don't want to deal with an evade auto attack, which they just will do. And you can even see here, I throw my Reaver's Glaive, it just misses, does nothing. But it does give me my buffs, so it's fine. Reaver's Glaive, spend my Amoras, I beam, throw another Reaver's Glaive, Annihilation, Death Sweep. Use Vengeful with the empowered Death Sweep to empower both the Fury of the Aldrachi hits, the Death Sweep itself, the throw glaives from it, and the Trail of Ruin. By far the best button to buff and use your Vengeful Retreat on is always an empowered Death Sweep. And while these ads are up, and especially the batches, I'm just spam spending because you're just converting all the damage out of the Reaver Glaive throw and all the Fury of the Aldrachi hits to prio single target damage. And you see I'm at this time doing a ton of damage.
There's one to your right, just be careful.
From here, this fight's really simple. Honestly, there's nothing dangerous on this boss. At least for Havoc. In high keys, the way that we deal with this is the tank breaks barrels, and everyone else tries to not break barrels at all with the circle mechanic. So he controls how many stacks we're getting, and here we get a 2-stack. This would be a good time to blur, but blur's not quite up yet, and again, it's just like, instead of going low, I'd go less low. We really don't feel like there's any time we could die on this fight. Your darknesses are used over an intermission, but I typically just leave it to my healer to call when they want that. I don't really have a good judge of when other people are going to be in danger on this boss. And then every time she leaps up to middle, just be aware, look at what the tank blew up, and then what I try to do is when I position, look at every barrel in the room. Now, right here, there's a barrel in front, and these always shoot on cardinal directions. The room is level, so these are going to be exactly flat across in plus signs everywhere. So there's going to be fire waves coming here, fire waves shooting across here, shooting across the front of the table. So backside of the table here is safe, and I try to work that out every single time. If I was one step over, the fire wave's going to go through here, but you can always know exactly where all these fire waves go. It is consistent and very predictable when you know how it works. And yeah, being Havoc, intermission just does not hurt. Don't want to get hit by the circles.
My fucking AMS is fading from the dot.
Nothing important going on here.
Huh.
Same thing going into this
What's
intermission.
Gaelic whispering?
It looks a little bit sus with, again, the barrels are a bit weird here. So we're going to have ones coming through and intersecting on the back.
Yeah,
Where's
So I drop a
Fox?
square marker down and just tell everyone to come stack on me. Just don't want anyone to die in this phase because, you know, why not?
Watch waves coming right through there.
My darkness never got called for, so I didn't end up using it. And then we decide we're not even going to deal with another intermission, so we're just going to take her to the wall and shoot into the wall. But I just, for the sake of it, throw a Darkness Global on the tank to see if I can block it, and I do not.
You guys have a guild that sells Sprocket.
I do.
How much do they sell for?
I'd have to ask. Not sure because prices go down every single week.
I'm so tired of not having a pick me up.
Yeah, it's great, and then you go to walk past mobs and they all pull and
Yeah.
Pick me up pulls?
Yeah.
It does damage when someone's at max health.
God, just like.
So yeah, nothing really that difficult. This is a key I'm now very comfortable in. And Havoc, I think this is just flat out Havoc's best key. There's an incredible amount of mob density, which for Aldrachi Reaver is its strength. The reason for that is Fury of the Aldrachi is uncapped, at least to 20 targets. Whereas if you're thinking of like Felsguard, Immolation Aura starts dealing reduced damage over 8 targets. So in really big target counts, it actually doesn't do as much damage as Fury of the Aldrachi will for Aldrachi Reaver. And because there's so many mobs dying, and the fact that second and third boss both have consistent ad spawns, it's just you're going to get tons of souls, which will give you even more Reaver's Glaive, which gives you even more funnel and AoE. So you can see here, I finished the key over both the Ret Paladin and the Unholy Death Knight, and you know that's with me giving my 3% damage buff to them as well. We all have Warrior buff, we all have Shaman buff.
Sure. Should be easy. Get some points out of it.
Big takeaways that I'd say is just like, again, Aldrachi Reaver's really good when you put your damage in the right places. And you know, looking at the log and seeing the parts that like really matter, making sure that you are prioritizing the right target and maintaining uptime to continuously spawn souls and always have Reaver Glaives throughout the dungeon is the most important thing for min-maxing your damage on Havoc. And if we're looking at a priority mob, like when we were grouping that Lust pull in Ipa's room, this is what the damage to the Hopgoblin looks like. Over half of my damage is Wounded Quarry. You can see right here that it's doing over 3 million DPS just from the funnel damage of Wounded Quarry itself. I believe I have a tick here for as high as 25.3 million. Incredible amount of damage. Also incredibly dangerous on threat, so you do want to look to meld anytime you're in a massive pull like that, because it's not going to be feasible for your tank to hold aggro. Especially if I look at the start of this here, where you can see, you know, the tank is doing 900k DPS to this mob, and I'm doing 6 million. But yeah, looking at the prio targets and just the damage Havoc does in general, incredibly good. So the fact that I can also top overall in this key as well as own priority damage and boss damage is just a huge plus for the spec. And in general, I think Havoc is in an amazing spot right now. I don't know why the community perception doesn't seem to be caught up to its performance, but spec is really good. That's really everything for my live commentary today. If you like this kind of content, please leave a comment letting me know this is something I should continue in the future. And if you like the channel, consider liking the videos. All the support helps me. And you could always subscribe to the channel itself and get alerted anytime I have new videos. I also have alerts set up in my Discord channel where you can opt into a role to be pinged when I put out new videos. If that's something you're interested in, that will be in the description below to join the Discord. But for now, that's everything for this video, and you have yourself a wonderful rest of your day.